Sure. Here's section 1 of the script, with a focused, high-quality narrative style, exactly aligned to your request. Word count is 760 plus words, tightly written and emotionally engaging without fluff. After Lily and David moved out, the silence in our home was louder than any noise they'd ever made. For the first few weeks, I tried to enjoy the peace. Karen and I had always said, once the kids are grown, we'll have our time again. I imagined lazy Sundays, road trips, cooking together. But something shifted quickly, and it wasn't what I had expected. Karen seemed lighter. Like a weight had been lifted. She began waking up earlier, dressing with a bit more care, even changing her hairstyle. When I commented on it, she brushed it off with a smile, just trying something new. I was proud of her, honestly. For 25 years, she dedicated everything to our family. If this was her time to rediscover herself, I supported it. A month later, she told me she was applying for a job. Marketing coordinator at a mid-sized firm. I asked if she really wanted to go back to that life. She didn't hesitate. I need to feel useful again, she said. I want to do something for myself. I told her I was happy for her. I meant it, but a small part of me wondered where I fit into this new version of her. She got the job within 2 weeks. Suddenly, our schedules no longer aligned. She'd leave before I was up, come home around 7 or later. At first, I didn't mind. I cooked dinner, waited up. She was tired most nights. We talked less, touched less. I told myself she was just adjusting. I was used to her always being around, maybe too used to it. Her phone became a new appendage. Constant buzzing. She claimed it was work, group chats, internal updates. I had no reason not to believe her. But one night, I walked into the kitchen to grab water, and she was giggling while typing on her phone. She saw me and immediately set it face down on the counter. I asked what was funny. "Oh, just a meme from a coworker," she said. She didn't elaborate. I didn't push. Over the following weeks, Karen became less here. Her body was home, but her mind wasn't. She forgot my birthday. Something she hadn't done once in 30 years. She apologized, blamed stress and deadlines. I accepted it, though it stung. I made dinner most nights. She often said she wasn't hungry or had already eaten at work. I started to feel invisible. One evening, I sat alone at the table, eating leftovers, and realized we hadn't sat down together in over a week. That used to be sacred for us. I tried initiating conversations, planning small weekend activities, museum exhibits, local jazz nights. She always had a reason to decline. Exhausted, too much to catch up on, maybe next weekend. I stopped asking. A few days later, I was folding laundry and noticed one of her jackets was unusually heavy. I reached into the pocket and found a receipt. Dinner for 2. Rooftop restaurant downtown. A place we'd only been to once, years ago, for our anniversary. The date on the receipt matched a night she claimed to be working late on a campaign presentation. My heart sank, but I told myself it could have been a team dinner. She was new, after all, maybe they were welcoming her. I wanted to believe that night, I casually brought up the restaurant, said I'd heard great things lately. Her reaction was too quick. "Oh yeah. We should go sometime." She avoided eye contact. I felt something tighten in my chest. I started noticing patterns. She'd be on her phone late, tapping quickly, then locking it when I walked in. Her wardrobe shifted, more fitted clothes, new perfume, makeup she hadn't worn in years. When I commented, she gave a vague smile. "Just refreshing my look," she'd say. I said she looked beautiful. She said thanks and kept walking. One Saturday morning, she left early, claiming a brunch with an old coworker. I watched from the window as she drove away, dressed in heels and a red blouse I'd never seen before. I stared at the empty driveway long after the taillights disappeared. A part of me knew. I just didn't want to accept it. I tried talking to her that night. I said I missed her, that things felt different. She got defensive, told me I was imagining things, that I needed to stop acting paranoid. I apologized. I always apologized. I hated conflict. I didn't want to drive her further away, but I couldn't shake the feeling. My gut had never screamed at me like this. Every unanswered call, every vague explanation, every cold shoulder, it all pointed somewhere I wasn't ready to go. I kept waiting for her to return, not just physically, but emotionally. I kept hoping this was just a phase. I didn't know I was already too late. Let me know when you're ready for section 2. Absolutely. Below is section 2 of the script, continuing directly from section 1. It's focused, to the point, with no repetition or fluff, and exceeds 760 words for quality and depth. A week after the brunch, I came downstairs to find Karen's phone buzzing on the counter. She was still in the shower. I wasn't looking for anything, but when the screen lit up, I froze. A message preview read, "Last night was amazing. Same time tomorrow?" The name attached, Brian Clark. I didn't touch the phone. I stood there, staring, my heart pounding in my ears. I knew that name. She'd mentioned him once or twice, her team lead, someone she said was really good at pushing creative ideas. I had no reason to question it before. But that message wasn't work-related. It was unmistakably personal. Intimate. I wanted to believe there was some innocent explanation. I tried to leave it alone. But I couldn't unsee it. That night, while Karen slept, I gave in. I opened her phone. Her password hadn't changed. There it was, dozens of messages between them. Flirty jokes. Inside references. Comments about my predictable routines. A photo of a cocktail glass, with her hand in frame, captioned, "Wish you were here again." He'd replied, "Thinking about last night. Can't wait for part 2. I scrolled in silence. There were no pictures of them together, but there didn't need to be. The text spelled everything out. Hotel reservations. Compliments about her dress. Messages with timestamps that overlapped with the work dinners she'd told me about. My hands shook. I didn't know whether to cry or throw the phone across the room. The next day, I didn't mention anything. I watched her like a stranger. Everything she said sounded like a script. Her laugh felt rehearsed. I noticed the way she avoided my eyes. She left for work in the same red blouse she'd worn to that supposed brunch. I told her to have a good day. She smiled and kissed me on the cheek. That kiss felt like a lie. I started paying closer attention. Tracked her routine. One night, she said she'd be late, team dinner again. I drove to her office an hour after she'd said the meeting started. Her car wasn't there. I waited across the street for 2 hours. At 9:43 p.m., I saw her walk out of the hotel down the block. Not alone. Brian was right behind her. They didn't touch, but they didn't need to. Their body language was enough. They laughed about something. She looked happy. Like I hadn't seen her in months. I didn't confront her that night. I went home, poured a drink, and sat in the dark. My mind spun in circles. 25 years. 2 kids. A life we'd built. And she was giving pieces of it to someone else like it cost her nothing. I thought about what I'd done wrong. I hadn't been perfect, but I'd been loyal. Steady. Present. She had taken the version of herself I loved and given it to a stranger. I needed to be sure. I checked the dashcam footage from her car, which she rarely used now. I had installed it a year ago after a break-in scare in our neighborhood. She'd forgotten about it, There were clips of her driving to the same hotel multiple times. Always around 7 p.m., always leaving around 10. Once, she adjusted her blouse in the mirror before stepping out. Smiled at her reflection. I transferred the footage to my computer. I copied the texts. I took screenshots. I wasn't preparing to confront her in anger. I needed to be calm. I wanted truth, not drama. That Friday, she came home a little later than usual. I asked her how her day went. She said it was exhausting, meetings all day. I told her to sit, that I wanted to talk. When I asked her about Brian, she froze. I asked again, more directly this time, if she was sleeping with him. Her face dropped. She didn't deny it. She didn't try to lie. She just said, I didn't mean for this to happen. I asked her how long it had been going on. She said 6 months. 6 months of deception. 6 months of pretending. She said she felt seen again. That Brian made her feel appreciated. Alive. I asked if she ever thought about me. Us. Our family. She started crying. Said she hated herself for it, but she didn't stop. That was the part that cut the deepest, not just that she strayed, but that she kept choosing it, over and over again. I asked her if she was in love with him. She said she didn't know. That she didn't think it was about love. She said it was about escape. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I just sat there, quietly. She asked what I wanted to do. I said I didn't know yet. I needed time to think. I told her not to talk to me for a while unless it was absolutely necessary. She nodded, still crying. I didn't care. I'd run out of empathy. When she went upstairs, I stayed on the couch until morning. I stared at nothing, trying to make sense of how the person I built my life with became someone I didn't recognize. I had my answers now, and they hurt more than the questions ever did. Let me know when you're ready for Section 3. Here is Section 3 of the script, written precisely as you requested, focused, clear, emotionally grounded, and with a word count of over 760 words. It brings the story to its full conclusion with no repetition or filler. She slept in the guest room for the first week after I found out. Neither of us spoke unless we had to. The house felt colder, even though it was summer. I stayed quiet, but my mind never stopped. Every room reminded me of what we used to be. Every silence reminded me of what we'd become. Karen asked if I would consider counseling. I agreed, mostly because I needed to understand what happened, not because I thought anything could be repaired. In the first session, she talked a lot. About feeling invisible. About the years she gave up to raise our children. About the version of herself she thought she had lost. I listened, but everything she said felt like justification. I told her that. She cried. I didn't. After the second session, I knew I couldn't continue. I told the therapist I didn't see a path forward. Not because I didn't believe in forgiveness, but because I didn't believe in pretending. I couldn't unlive the last 6 months. I couldn't be in a room with her without seeing images of what she did, who she did it with, and how easily she lied to me. Love isn't enough when trust is dead. I asked her to move out for a while. She didn't fight it. She packed a few things and stayed with a friend. The next day, I told Lily and David. They deserved the truth, or at least a version of it. I didn't go into detail, but I didn't sugarcoat it either. I told them their mother had been unfaithful, and that we were separating. Lily cried and asked if it was something I could forgive. David asked how long I'd known. I answered everything honestly. They were shocked, hurt, confused. But they were adults now. They handled it better than I expected. In the weeks that followed, I started to feel something strange, relief. Not because I was happy about any of it, but because I was no longer pretending. No more trying to fix something that was already shattered. I didn't hate her. I didn't wish her pain. But I stopped hoping she would change. I stopped hoping I could go back to who I was before I knew. She reached out a few times. Small things. Updates about the kids. Questions about logistics. She kept her tone neutral, maybe trying not to push me further away. I answered when necessary, but nothing more. She asked once if I would ever consider trying again. I told her I couldn't be with someone who made me question my own worth for that long and never noticed. That was the end of that conversation. I filed for legal separation 2 months later. Not out of anger. Just clarity. I realized that sometimes you don't need a dramatic ending to close a chapter. You just need honesty, and time, and distance. She didn't contest anything. We kept things clean. No legal war, no screaming. Just two people quietly undoing a life they spent decades building. I started going to therapy on my own. Not to fix something, but to understand it. I had to confront a lot of things: how I avoided conflict, how I internalized her withdrawal as a reflection of my value, how I ignored signs because facing the truth felt too heavy. Healing wasn't about blaming her. It was about finally choosing myself. I picked up hobbies I hadn't touched in years. Woodworking. Running in the early mornings. Reaching out to old friends I'd neglected. I learned to cook properly, not just warm up leftovers. I redecorated the bedroom. Removed photos, not out of spite, but because they didn't bring comfort anymore. I never tried dating again, not yet. It wasn't about fear. I just didn't want to invite anyone into my life while I was still learning how to be alone without being lonely. I needed to rebuild from the inside out. Sometimes I still catch myself remembering a good moment with Karen. A vacation. A look across the dinner table. A lazy Sunday afternoon when everything felt simple. I let those memories come and go. I don't erase the past. I just don't live in it. She sent an email recently. Just a few lines. She said she was sorry. That she'll probably regret it for the rest of her life. I read it twice. Then deleted it. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't need closure from her anymore. I already had it. Now, my mornings are quiet, but not empty. I make coffee, sit on the porch, and listen to the wind. There's peace in knowing that I walked through the worst part and didn't lose myself. I gave her loyalty, years, and love. She gave me betrayal. But in the end, I kept my integrity. And that's enough. Let me know if you'd like a title card, closing narration suggestion, or YouTube script formatting next.